Good afternoon. My name is Sapphire Jones, and I'll be your hostess for today's special feature, Awareness and Prevention of Communication Impairments Caused by Traumatic Brain Injuries in the Construction Industry. This is the final segment to our series, Safety 101, Basic Training of the Elementary Components of Construction. Before we call in our first guest, I would like to inform you a little more on the basic characteristics of traumatic brain injuries, also referred to as TBI. There are two categories of TBI labeled as mild and severe. Characteristics with mild may include, but are not limited to, a loss of consciousness and/or confusion and disorientation shorter than 30 minutes. The individual has cognitive problems such as headache, difficulty thinking, memory problems, attention deficits, mood swings, and frustration. Severe TBIs, on the other hand, include a loss of consciousness for more than 30 minutes and memory loss after the injury or penetrating skull injury longer than 24 hours. The deficits range from impairment of higher-level cognitive functions to comatose states. Survivors may have limited function of arms or legs, abnormal speech or language, loss of thinking ability or emotional problems. The range of injuries and degree of recovery is very variable and varies on an individual basis. Now that we've covered the basics, I would like to call in our first guest, Lula Magnolia. Hello, Lula. Thank you for coming today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Lula is a construction worker and regional safety manager. Tell us, why do you think this subject is so important to individuals in the field?
Well, Miss Jones, working in an industry which runs the risk of enduring an injury, such as construction, it's essential to make safety a top priority in the prevention of TBIs. There's no such thing as too safe.
It's so good to hear that the construction field takes this so seriously.
Absolutely. Every job site has regulated safety talks covering a range of appropriate topics. Even OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Association, puts together workshops and classes for safety training, as in the case of highway construction flaggers.
Wow! So the notion of construction safety is really important, even at the government level.
That's right. Unfortunately, accidents do happen frequently. And the best possible situation is to be prepared through safety to prevent injury.
Well spoken. On that note, let's take a look at our first clip with Claire Clumsy.
Heads up!
Ouch! That was a brutal hit. How common is something like this, Lula?
Well, Sapphire, I think you'd be surprised to learn that falling equipment in a construction zone is very common.
So, what could this worker have done differently to have not endured injury, possibly a TBI?
One of the most essential pieces of equipment that should always be worn in such situations is the hard hat. This individual should have been wearing a hard hat, which would have taken the bulk of the hit, leaving her maybe a little shaken up, but uninjured. Also, it's a good idea to go against your senses and not actually look up when someone yells, "Heads up." I'd also advise workers, when hearing such a warning, to cover their head and the base of their neck with their arms to avoid head injury.
Those are some wonderful safety tips. Thanks for sharing. Let's see what trouble our anti-safety friend gets into next.
Oh, my head! Somebody help! Help! Oh! Ow! Ow, my eye!
Well, that is unpleasant and unfortunate, but I don't possibly see how Miss Clumsy could have prevented this injury.
Oh, absolutely she could have. Another important preventative piece of equipment is safety glasses. These babies keep your eyes safe along with your brain from more serious injury. Also, we would have advised an injured person to stay where they are, if at all possible, until help is available, to avoid further injury.
Good point. I guess preventative safety really is a lot easier than it sounds.
It's amazing, Sapphire, that such simple measures of safety can be used to help prevent injury, yet so many people don't take them seriously. After all, in 2003, there were 155,420 construction-related accidents. Out of those, more than 152,000 were men, and about 3,000 were women. Moreover, workers between ages 25 and 34 are the most likely to get injured. This gives the construction industry clear populations to target when training.
Well, it's a relief to see that the field is prepared to take necessary measures to prevent injury. Let's see what other trouble Claire can get into.
Oh, my eye! Help! Help, my eye! Help! 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 Ah! Oh my gosh, she's bleeding! Somebody call IXII!
Bad luck today for our friend. Lula, what's your take on this scenario?
This is the perfect example of how useful a safety vest can be in the workplace.
Ooh.
By wearing this reflective and stylish outerwear, we're able to easily be identified by other workers, machinists, and drivers, just to name a few. A few extra seconds of awareness can go a long way in preventing injury.
It sure can. Like you said earlier, there's no such thing as too safe. Miss Magnolia, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing some safety tips on how to use hard hats, safety glasses, and vests to prevent traumatic brain injury.
My pleasure.
Now that we've seen how easy preventative measures are, let's go to Dr. Melby to see how Claire is doing and for more information on what communication impairments can come from a traumatic brain injury.
Hello, Sapphire. I've just finished examining Miss Clumsy's extensive injuries. She has tissue damage to the eye, which could only affect her eyesight temporarily. She also has a sprained arm and widespread bruising. Unfortunately, she has endured a TBI. There's no way of telling if it was caused by the hammer falling on her, the screwdriver impaling her eye, or the impact made with the ground in the car accident. This is a severe TBI as characterized previously in this video.
Doctor, could you share with us what communication difficulties Claire may face?
Of course. Some speech and language deficits associated with TBIs include receptive or expressive aphasia, slurred speech, various speaking rates, problems with reading or writing, trouble with pragmatic skills such as turn-taking and topic maintenance. Muscles associated with speech may also be affected by weaker or less coordination. Another possibility is that Miss Clumsy may have dysarthria. This is a motor speech disorder associated with disturbed neuromuscular control of speech due to CNS or PNS damage. Dysarthrias that can be caused by a TBI include spastic, ataxic, hypokinetic, upper unilateral motor neuron, and mixed.
Claire, do you have anything you'd like to share with our viewers today?
I sure know I learned my lesson. I'll never go on the job again without wearing my helmet, safety goggles, and construction vest.
Doctor, what are your thoughts when you see a case like Claire's?
Well, I certainly think, how could this have been prevented? Do you know, Sapphire, that males are 1.5 times more likely than females to sustain a TBI? 1.4 million people in the U.S. sustain a TBI each year, and 235,000 are hospitalized. The most common cause of falls are motor vehicle accidents. I have confidence that most TBIs can be prevented.
Well, there you have it, folks. The doctor has spoken. So remember, when you're out there, to stay safe and help prevent a TBI and communication impairments. So just remember, folks,
There's no such thing as being too safe.